The November wind howled through the narrow streets of the old neighborhood, rattling window panes and sending dead leaves skittering across empty sidewalks. In a modest two-story house at the end of Maple Street, Sarah Chen sat bolt upright in bed, her heart pounding as her 6-month-old daughter Emma's cries pierced the silence of the 2 a.m. darkness. This was the 4th time tonight. Sarah threw back her covers with an exhausted sigh, her body moving on autopilot as she shuffled down the hallway. Her husband Marcus was away on a business trip to Seattle, leaving her alone with Emma for the week. The floorboards creaked beneath her feet as she made her way to the nursery, a sound she'd grown accustomed to in the 3 months since they'd moved into this old Victorian house. The nursery door was slightly ajar, just as she'd left it. Emma's cries filled the small room, her tiny fists waving in the air above the white wooden crib. Sarah lifted her daughter gently, cradling her against her chest and swaying back and forth in the dim glow of the nightlight. "Shh, Mommy's here," she whispered, patting Emma's back in a rhythmic pattern. "What's wrong, sweet girl? You've been so fussy tonight." Emma's cries gradually subsided into whimpers, then soft breathing. Sarah held her for another 10 minutes, just to be sure, before carefully lowering her back into the crib. She watched for a moment as Emma's chest rose and fell peacefully, then crept out of the room, pulling the door nearly closed behind her. She had just settled back under her own covers when it started again. Emma's wails, somehow even more urgent than before, echoed through the house. Sarah closed her eyes and counted to 10, hoping against hope that her daughter would settle herself. But the crying only intensified. With a groan, Sarah dragged herself out of bed once more. This time, her exhaustion was bone deep. She'd barely slept more than 2 hours total. Her mind felt foggy, her limbs heavy. The hallway seemed longer somehow, the shadows deeper. She repeated the process: lift, sway, pat, whisper, wait, lower. Emma calmed. Sarah returned to bed. 20 minutes later, the cries began again. Then again at 3:30 a.m., and again at 4:15 a.m. By the time Emma started crying at 4:45 a.m., Sarah was delirious with fatigue. Her eyes burned, her head throbbed, and tears of frustration pricked at her own eyes. She lay in bed for a long moment, listening to her daughter's cries, wondering if she had the strength to get up one more time. But of course she did. She was a mother. She would always get up. Sarah pushed herself to a sitting position and swung her legs over the side of the bed. She was about to stand when she heard it. Footsteps. Not her own. These were coming from the hallway, deliberate and measured. The distinctive creak of the 3rd floorboard from her bedroom door, then the 5th, then the 7th. Someone was walking down the hall toward Emma's room. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The house was supposed to be empty except for her and Emma. She'd locked every door and window before bed, had checked them twice. Marcus wouldn't be home until Friday. Her nearest neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was 73 and could barely make it up her own stairs, let alone break into someone's home in the middle of the night. But someone was out there, walking toward her baby's room. Fear paralyzed her for 3 heartbeats. Then maternal instinct kicked in like a surge of electricity. Sarah lunged for her phone on the nightstand, her fingers trembling as she unlocked it. But before she could dial 911, she froze again, listening. The footsteps had stopped. Right outside Emma's door, by the sound of it, Sarah's mind raced through possibilities. An intruder? Impossible the alarm would have gone off. A dream? No, she was definitely awake. Her daughter's cries were real enough. A neighbor checking on the noise? Then she heard the soft creak of Emma's nursery door opening wider. That broke her paralysis. Sarah jumped out of bed, still clutching her phone, and rushed to her bedroom door. She yanked it open, ready to scream, to fight, to do whatever it took to protect her child. The hallway was empty. The overhead light fixture swayed slightly, as if disturbed by movement, but there was no one there. Emma's door stood wide open now, and her cries had stopped. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She crept forward, her bare feet silent on the cold hardwood floor. Her thumb hovered over the emergency call button on her phone. As she approached Emma's room, she could hear something that made her skin prickle with goosebumps. The crib was moving, rocking gently back and forth as if pushed by invisible hands. And there was a sound, soft, melodic, barely audible. Someone was humming. Sarah reached the doorway and peered inside. Her whole body tensed to flee or fight. Emma lay in her crib, calm and quiet, her eyes heavy-lidded and peaceful. The crib continued its gentle rocking motion. And the humming. It was coming from right beside the crib, though no one was there. An old lullaby. One Sarah didn't recognize. The voice was elderly, feminine, with a warmth that seemed to emanate through the very air. As Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, the humming turned to words, sung in a whisper so soft it seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Hush now, little one. Don't you cry. Grandma's here. She's standing by. Close your eyes and drift away. She'll keep the darkness all at bay." Sarah's phone slipped from her trembling fingers and clattered to the floor. The singing stopped abruptly. The crib stilled. The room fell completely silent, except for Emma's soft breathing. For a long moment, Sarah couldn't move. Her rational mind screamed that this was impossible, that she was hallucinating from sleep deprivation, that there had to be a logical explanation. But she had heard it. She had seen the crib moving. And most impossibly of all, Emma, who had been inconsolable moments ago, was now sleeping peacefully, a slight smile on her tiny face. Sarah bent down to retrieve her phone with shaking hands. As she straightened, she caught a faint scent in the air. Lavender and something else. Talcum powder? It reminded her of her own grandmother's house, decades ago. She approached the crib slowly, half expecting the unseen presence to return. But the room felt normal now, if still a bit cold. Sarah reached down and gently touched Emma's cheek. Her daughter's skin was warm, her breathing deep and regular. She was truly, peacefully asleep. Sarah backed out of the room carefully, leaving the door open this time. She returned to her own bed, but knew sleep wouldn't come. She sat propped against her pillows, phone in hand, ears straining for any sound. But the house remained quiet. Emma didn't wake again that night. The next morning, exhausted and questioning her own sanity, Sarah called her mother-in-law, Patricia. After the usual pleasantries, Sarah hesitated, then decided to just say it. "Patricia, I know this is going to sound crazy, but..." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Yes," Patricia said slowly. "Grandma Rose lived here for 40 years before she passed. Why do you ask?" One line. One line. Sarah's mouth went dry. What was she like? Known. Oh, she was wonderful, gentle, loving. She raised 6 children in that house. She used to say it was her favorite place in the world. Patricia's voice grew softer. She had a beautiful singing voice, used to sing the old lullabies. "Why, Sarah?" "What's this about?" Sarah told her. Everything. The footsteps, the moving crib, the voice, the lullaby. She expected Patricia to laugh, to suggest she'd been dreaming, to recommend a good therapist. Instead, Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "The 3rd week, after we moved Marcus out of that house and into our new place, he was about Emma's age, maybe a bit younger. He cried and cried for 3 nights straight. Nothing would calm him. I was at my wit's end." "And?" Sarah prompted. "And on the 3rd night, I went to his room and found him perfectly calm. The crib rocking by itself. I could have sworn I heard Grandma Rose's voice, singing one of her lullabies. I never told anyone. I thought I'd gone mad from sleep deprivation. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. It was real? I don't know what it was, Patricia admitted. But I know what I experienced. And I know that Marcus slept through the night every night after that. Grandma Rose always said that house would take care of the family, long after she was gone. After they hung up, Sarah sat in the kitchen, cradling a cup of coffee, trying to process everything. She should have been terrified. Every horror movie she'd ever seen suggested she should grab Emma and run. But the truth was, she didn't feel afraid anymore. The presence, whatever it had been gentle, loving. It had comforted Emma when Sarah couldn't. That evening, as Sarah was putting Emma down for the night, she paused beside the crib. The room felt warm, welcoming. On impulse, she spoke into the empty air. "Thank you," she whispered, "for helping her, for watching over us." Was it her imagination? Or did the temperature in the room seem to grow just a bit warmer? Did the faint scent of lavender drift through the air? Emma cooed softly, her tiny hand reaching up toward something Sarah couldn't see. Then she smiled a real smile, not just gas, and closed her eyes. Sarah stood there for a moment longer, then quietly left the room. That night, for the first time in weeks, Emma slept peacefully until morning. And if sometimes, in the early morning hours, Sarah heard the soft creaking of floorboards or caught the faint scent of lavender in the hallway, she no longer felt afraid. Instead, she felt grateful. Some houses, she had learned, held more than just memories. And love, it seemed, was stronger than death, more enduring than time, and more comforting than any lullaby she could ever sing alone. You can subscribe to the channel, like it, and write in the comments what other horror stories you would like to see.